on your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, Chrissie, to say I doubt people stand up to something, I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. Oh, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. As you can see from my sign, there it is. I am your host, Chrissie Mayr. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Rumble, Rockfin, YouTube, SoundCloud, all the fine places where podcasts are sold or listened to for free. Guys, before I bring on a fabulous guest, I got a couple more shows coming up. I might be booking some more for this summer. But for sure, Wednesday, August 9th, I'll be headlining the Sandman Comedy Club in Richmond, Virginia. Come on out to that. Then I'll be going to Anime Matsuri in August. It's the 10th through the 13th in Houston, Texas. I have never been to Houston before, and I've never been to Anime Matsuri, so I'm very excited to go. I'm very excited to do my April O'Neil cosplay. Who knows if it'll be like the modern version or not. I'll have to decide when I get there. And yeah, Simcast, I think we will be there with a panel and a booth. But I will for sure be hanging out there. And I'm headlining that same weekend in Houston, Friday, August 11th at the Secret Group. So get your tickets now. Nice early show, 7 o'clock. Something to do right after the convention ends. And then you still have plenty of time to drink and carry on and do whatever it is you do at these conventions. All right, guys. Well, I haven't had this guy on in a long time. I think the last time we had him on was during the Canadian trucker protests. He is not just a trucker anymore. He's moved on to other blue-collar jobs because he wants to just paint a whole, spank bank for you ladies. But he's my favorite New Hampshire Libertarian. Welcome back to the program, Reed Coverdale.
Good to see you, Chrissie. Thanks for having me back on.
Yes, of course. Tell me about high wire power lines.
High voltage power lines. Yeah.
High voltage.
So believe it or not, I moved down the scale of dangerous jobs. I think truck driving is like number 6. And I think lineman is like
6.
I think lineman's like number 8 or 9 or something. Because most people get killed on the side of the highway as truck drivers if they're pulled over or something. So it sounds a lot more dangerous, but it's actually less dangerous. But yeah, you can definitely die doing it. It's I've seen a couple big flashes this winter. We had a lot of storms, and sometimes the power lines will break and then they won't die. They'll just fall into the road and they'll still be energized, and they'll melt the pavement into lava basically around where the wires land. If a transformer blows up, you can see the whole sky light up blue. So there's when you're just working on them, aside from like the buzzing and the static, you can't see anything. Obviously everyone sees power lines all the time. There's nothing scary looking about them, but if you do something wrong, then you get reminded pretty quickly that they're very dangerous.
I can't help but I have to resist the urge to touch them. Like I always want to touch them when I see them down. There's a word for that. There's also I was at a hotel in Texas, and it was like Embassy Suites, and we're on the 8th floor, and there's a big sort of not courtyard but lobby, open sort of foyer, and I was like, I don't know why, but I want to jump over the side. And there's a word for that. It's the human urge to do the thing you're not supposed to do.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know what it's called. my friend Keanu was explaining it to me. It has something to do with like humans wanting to be like on the like we're not meant to be high up. Maybe I should get that checked out. But yeah, I always want to like I was petting some goats the other day, and there's like, oh, it says a high wire, electrical fence, and I just like had to touch it. It wasn't on. I was fine.
Yeah, no, these electrical lines will hurt you a lot more than an electrical fence. But I know what you're talking about, that urge. Like, although my urge was always to run over idiots who wouldn't get out of the way when I was truck driving, because they know that they have the power to basically stop you. I mean, not like if something went wrong, but they have the social ability to screw over truck drivers. Like if they pull out in front of you, or if they get in your space, like you kind of just have to stop and wait till they get out of the way and then keep doing your thing. But the physics of it, if there were no rules of the road or anything, like they would get crushed. So when you'd see some woman in her car who is just being an idiot and knows that she can get away with it, it was always really you always had this urge to run them over. But it's a little bit different. But that was always my urge working, I'll say, was running people over. Never gave in.
When my dad was a Teamster, he told me he would like get the urge to like rear end people like who cut him off. He'd be like, I could. And I was like, is that normal? But maybe it is.
Definitely normal.
Like I could, but I won't. That's cool. Wow. So I'm just imagining you walking on them like a tightrope, but I imagine that's probably not what you're doing.
Yeah, no, never have tried it. Although you could do that. A lot of people don't realize this, but I mean, you could hang from a power line if you're only touching one, and you'd be fine. You wouldn't get electrocuted until you touch something that's at a different potential. So if you touch one of the other wires, or if you touch the telephone wires at the same time, or if you touch the pole and the wire, and then the electricity will go through your bloodstream. And I mean, it doesn't just electrocute you, like it doesn't just stop your heart. It'll also, the voltage is so high, it'll basically burn you from the inside out. When you first start the job, they show you a bunch of pictures of people who've been electrocuted by high voltage, and their arms are just split open and they look like they've been roasted. It's pretty nasty. But yeah,
cool. That sounds pretty good. What if you wear like one of those cool, like Bart Simpson? What if you wear one of those like medieval like metal shirts? That's probably bad.
Yeah, I mean, the luckiest scenario you could run into is having the electricity travel around the outside of your body instead of through your bloodstream. And this is something that can happen. Like if you're really, really sweaty because it's been super hot, and you touch some sort of difference of potential and the electricity comes through you, the absolute best case scenario you can run into is that it just goes around the outside of you instead of through your blood, and then you can survive.
Wow.
This happened a couple times. So maybe the chainmail suit would actually help you, depending on what the scenario is. It's possible.
Wow. I like that you're attracted to dangerous work.
Well, it pays more than the undangerous stuff. That's
what's up next? You could be like a deep sea shark diver.
Yeah, see, like I think the most dangerous job out there is logging, I believe, which a lot of people probably wouldn't guess that. But I don't know I can't remember if these top 10 jobs exclude the military. I can't remember if that's included in the list or not, but logging, that's number one. So I guess that's what I got to go for.
Or like, did you know if OnlyFans made the list?
Yeah, it depends what people like to watch on it. I guess it could get pretty dangerous. I mean, I don't know how loyal to the fans people get. Like if they want to see really kinky stuff, it could get pretty dangerous, I guess.
Oh my God. Like you're in danger of being persuaded to show something you're not ready to show.
My cousin works in the emergency room, and he said there are a lot of people who fall on top of glass bottles and get them inserted inside.
They trip,
their anus.
they
all
fall.
The way. It happens a lot.
And something ends up in their rear end. Yeah.
Very strange.
That's why you can't be exercising without your shorts on. I don't know. People still do it. or cleaning their floors without their shorts on. And
Yeah, just don't drink out of a glass Coke bottle when you're taking a shower. Like that's just the solution.
yeah,
But a lot of people
when
do that
cleaning your
apparently.
bottles, people, make sure you wear your drawers. This is like my libertarian day today. I had this woman on named Elizabeth Duffy on earlier,
Oh yeah.
and she is new on my radar. She's just going off being like, people think I'm a fed. I'm like, I think it's because you're hot, and people are suspect of an attractive woman. Would you say that's true among libertarians?
Yeah, so a lot of libertarian men have never talked to a woman who's not their mom or their sister, I would say. And so whenever they see a woman or they see another man talking to a woman, they just assume it's federal activity, which, isn't completely unreasonable for them, I guess, given how sheltered they are. Actually, Elizabeth Duffy, she posts a lot of thought pictures on Instagram and Twitter, and she often asks for pickup lines. So there was one, and I usually entertain her with some. So what was it, like 6 months ago, she posted one, and she said, "What would you say to me if you saw me in a bar?" And mine are always like laced with some sort of libertarianism or whatever. So I said, I want to go down on you like an Israeli drone strike on a Palestinian children's hospital.
Oh my God, that's so great.
And then
That's
the most recent, what's that?
I said it's very smart of her because like what she's doing is actually encouraging like engagement on her feed, which
Yeah,
is like the
exactly.
algorithm loves that. So asking questions is always smart to do.
And then the other one, she posted it like yesterday or the day before. She posted this picture of her on the couch, something about abolishing parts of the government. And I said, if your left leg was the state and your right leg was the church, then I fully endorse separation of church and state. And a lot of libertarian men, they see this and it's either simping or you're talking to a fed, because they've never encountered humorous interactions with women. It's just something that's kind of foreign to most libertarian men. So, and I know it's hard for ladies entering the movement, but have you ever been to a libertarian event? Have you ever been to like a convention or
No, but
anything
anything
like
that sounds like entering the movement sounds like it could be fun.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, the market is primed and ready for you if that's what you're looking for, because there's I'd say like a 98 to 2% offset of males to females in the libertarian movement. It's very
That's what I'm going to
lopsided.
tell my single friends. Be like, look, I don't know if you are a libertarian or not, but just pretend. For one, just go to Pork Fest, wear a
Yep.
gold shirt, wear a gold tube top, and just do your best.
Yep. No, that's how to do it right there.
I don't think any political group is known for their hilarious men when I think about it. Like certainly not Democrats, and conservatives can be pretty uptight. So
Yeah,
if
just
anything,
Trump is the only like funny conservative man I could think of.
yeah, but if I were to pick, I mean, I feel like I do see a lot of funny libertarian tweets. Can you explain this for me, Mr. Reed? Are you the handler of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire Twitter account?
So I can't take complete credit. I think there are 5 of us now who have the keys, but I've made a lot of tweets. I have already publicly claimed credit for this one. So this was one of mine. This was on August 25th of last year, which is the anniversary of John McCain's death. And then obviously that's Meghan McCain crying over her father's casket. So John McCain is one of these interesting figures that is adored by the left and the right sides of the establishment. He's always referred to as a maverick, that he was just sort of this reasonable, upstanding gentleman of a senator who was willing to see both sides of the aisle. And that's sort of true, but in a really screwed up way. What it really was is he was willing to support the wars that the left and right side of the establishment always wanted. And he wasn't just a supporter of the wars, but he went over to Ukraine and talked with the groups that we initially armed to overthrow their government and, lead us down the road that is bringing us to,
Oh, I remember that photo.
war with
Yeah,
Russia now.
he was like
Yeah,
posing with all of them.
Yeah, he and Lindsey Graham went over there and talked with a bunch of groups that have disturbing ties to neo-Nazism and worship for this guy named Stepan Bandera, he wasn't a German Nazi, but he was a Ukrainian nationalist who helped the SS round up thousands of Jews and murder them in the Holocaust. And, this is this group of people's favorite folk hero. So just, there was that. And then in Syria, he got us to support Arar al-Sham and, the Northern Storm Brigade, which are these really Islamist, extremist groups in Syria that he was telling us were moderate rebels that we shouldn't really have to worry about. These guys I can vouch for, we should really, get on board with them and help them oust Assad. And then, we find out actually a lot of these guys are people that we were literally just fighting in Iraq because they're in Al Qaeda. And then, they later became ISIS. And so he's been a guy who has had he's been on the front lines convincing us to fight with the worst people in the world and to start all these conflicts, and he sucks. So what we're trying to do at the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire is we're trying to break through the zeitgeist with a very unique style of messaging, because you can just post what I just said in a tweet, like you can post a paragraph about what an awful person John McCain actually was. And you can even post that on the anniversary of his death, but nobody's going to give a shit. I mean, they're not going to read the paragraph. Now, if you post this, suddenly you have everybody's attention. Like, whoa, what is going on? I mean,
Like, whoa, what? Memes are very important. It's very humor, comedy is so important in any aspect of culture that you're trying to change, or any information that you're trying to bring to people, because there's a certain I doubt anybody younger than there's a good chance anybody younger than 30 might not even know who John McCain is. So and this is a very smart joke. So and that's what's tricky. It's you want to make sure with your messaging you're not, I mean, not that it's a problem to only be reaching smart people, but yeah, you got to I guess mix it up if you're looking for a broad appeal.
Yeah, I mean, so this tweet got us into the news.
Oh, no.
Meghan McCain quote tweeted it 6 times and was outraged with us. And we got condemned. God. I mean, if you go through the quote tweets, it's just condemnation after condemnation from all these giant blue check. You'd have to go back closer to the day that it happened or whatever, but it was just nothing but, it's just nothing but people calling us just the worst people in the world. How could we ever post this? And it was people from both the right and the left, just like the people that loved him. It was all the typical establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats coming out and saying that this guy was a war hero and he was the greatest thing that ever happened to this country, blah 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 blah, whatever. And then we posted follow-up tweets explaining why he was so terrible. And then we actually
Bye, Carlo. Bye, Carlo didn't appreciate this. We all have flaws, but I can take comfort knowing I will never be like this. Nobody will ever turn me into this. If that makes me uncool, I'm fine with that. This is what it looks like when the abyss stares back.
That's me, Chrissy. I'm the abyss staring back at you right now. So
hanging from a high-powered power line.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's okay. I respect dark humor.
I kind of figured you would.
Yeah, and he was it just sounds like he was obsessed with war, and when people talk about the idea of the uniparty, it's just kind of, I feel like it describes him. And
yeah,
I don't know, but wasn't he also a veteran?
Yeah, he fought in the Vietnam War. He was an airplane pilot. He actually, so we did make some people in our own party upset too. We got condemned by some of them. I'm good friends with Spike, by the way, but
he probably felt like he had to.
Yeah, he wasn't a fan. Lots of close friends of mine weren't fans. It was a trying moment when this happened. Let's put it that way.
But you know what? The important thing is that you didn't delete it.
That's right. Yeah, it's still up.
Yeah. So you were saying he was a veteran himself.
Yeah, he was a veteran himself. He was a pilot, and he was actually captured and in a POW camp for a while. But his service record's also been pretty whitewashed. He actually dropped a bomb on an American aircraft carrier, not while he was flying, but while he was in the airplane on the deck, and caused a fire. And there's lots of stuff you just never hear about him.
Damn.
But yeah, he was the worst.
He was the worst, but Megan lives on.
And that's the thing with Megan, is it's not like she's a waitress in a restaurant and she's just John McCain's innocent daughter. I mean, she has pushed his legacy forward. Like I mean, have you ever seen the clips of my father, it's the I think Tim.
Oh no, like a supercut.
Yeah, I mean, she's always talking about him, and she's basically normalized mass murder to housewives and soccer moms. Like, oh, this is actually what we should be doing. The Iraq War is a great thing. This war is awesome. We got to do this. And so, we don't really have any pity for her. It's not like she's any different than her father. She's basically a continuation of him. So I don't look at her as innocent.
Look at this.
My father.
Okay.
My father. My father is my father. My father is my father. My father. My father. I mean, my father. 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 My father.
What about my dad?
My father. 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 My father's my father. 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 My father.
God.
Father, my 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 father.
I should like Gwen Stefani in one of those.
My father, my father, my father, my father, my father, my father, my father.
Oh my gosh.
My father, my father's my father, my father, my father, my father's my father, my father's.
The time that I had to take to do that. Wow.
Yeah, so let's just say she's not disconnected from her father in any way.
It's good for the brand, I guess.
You have seen Tim Dillon's impersonation of her, right?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's so funny. Tim Dillon doing anybody is so funny. He's so crazy talented. Oh my goodness. So I was like, let's see. I'm trying to think about if people are not as familiar with what it means to be a libertarian. I want to show this screen, and then maybe you can tell me what you think of this here chart. Let me get this up here. Okay. Well, this is off the lpnh.org. Common sense on the issues. Do you agree with this?
Wow, this is still on the LPNH site, huh?
This is still, and I guess I didn't realize that having a surveillance state was a right-wing position, because now it feels like that's a left-wing position.
I think this is a little outdated, to be honest, because Republicans don't believe in economic freedom. Democrats don't believe in personal freedom. Republicans don't believe in, the Second Amendment as strongly as they want us. I don't know. Like, this is all just kind of, I think that's just been on there forever. But, I mean, the stuff in the middle is true, though. Libertarians support all that stuff.
Government should just defend our rights, let individuals pursue their own interests. I mean, how could anybody have a problem with that? Stop nation building and being the policeman of the world, peace through trade and diplomacy. Yes. Why? I mean, like, it's, the Jordan Peterson, the old phrase of make your own bed first. And I just feel like there's maybe when we get to be a perfect country, we can be like, who needs help, you guys? End the failed war on drugs and legalize marijuana. I mean, sure. Yeah. I don't love marijuana. I think it's going to make you lazy. And if you're a person who's already kind of lazy to begin with, it's not going to help you. But I would put it in the same category as booze, the old hooch.
You know, it is really funny what you were saying a minute ago about the left and the right almost switching on some of these things because government regulated morality, like
Hmm.
that's almost a Democrat position now, like you
Oh,
need to
absolutely.
get this injection so that you don't kill people.
Mhm.
And
You have to date a
like this.
trans person so you don't
Yeah.
upset them.
Exactly. I mean, the the like ultra right wing religious conservatives of 20 years ago, a lot of the way that they attack people who don't agree with them is mirrored in like the woke left today. I mean, the thing is, we didn't have the social media structure that we do now 20 years ago. So like the pro Iraq war, like anti satanic panic, like anti Harry Potter stuff from the right, like it just couldn't be as effective even if they wanted it to be back then. Because now like it's so easy to deplatform someone. Like 20 years ago, if you didn't have a Twitter, it didn't matter. Like you just had a website or something, you didn't have a YouTube channel, you didn't
God, I
have
don't even think
any
Twitter
of
was
this
around
stuff.
20 years ago. I feel like didn't it come up in like 2007?
Yeah, I think so. So that's my point. Like all the stuff that the left can, wage a war in now with social media, it's so much easier to wipe out dissent than it was 20 years ago. Because 20 years ago, people didn't get their news from Twitter. They didn't like, get their news from their friends on Facebook or whatever. Like it was a lot harder to control everything. And now if you just control a couple big venues of information, like it's all shut down and
Yeah,
no
it's
one will know
like
what's going on.
it's basically the average person didn't have to worry about reputation management the way only celebrities did 20 years
Right.
ago.
Yeah. So it's just, I mean, it's scary to think about how much worse it's going to get in the future.
Oh
I can't imagine.
no. I wanted to hear a white pill read. What do you think is going to get
I
worse?
mean, they're going to decide that the reasonable solution is just to have free speech and let everyone say their ideas, and we're all going to get along happily ever after. That's what's going to happen.
You're not excited about Tucker's new show on Twitter TV or whatever it's going to be called?
Oh, I am. I don't know what you think, but I think Tucker was the only interesting show host that was still on national television. Like I
Yeah,
mean
he's
Bill
like a real
Maher,
person. He's like not
yeah.
everyone else seems just kind of like a robot.
You got people like Bill Maher who occasionally say something that's like, okay, yeah, that's the going against the grain a little bit, but Tucker definitely number one guy who would consistently have just about anybody on. Like, I mean, it's amazing to think we went from Bill O'Reilly cheerleading everything about the Bush administration and about like all this, BS old school conservative like policeman of the world crap to Tucker Carlson, who will have Glenn Greenwald on sort of regularly and Jimmy Dore and people like that. I mean, that it's a crazy, crazy switch from the past. So I think it was good that he was at Fox News for as long as he was because people paid attention to him because of it. But I think now that he's left, it's actually probably the best thing for his career. Like I think that he can really break out of his shell and hopefully leave any of the strings that are attached behind and then really become someone who really just has total unfettered opinions about everything. I think that would be really cool.
When I was at the Blaze a couple weeks ago, I forget who it was, but somebody was like, "Oh, well, if he doesn't get a new show, if he doesn't get back on the air in some form in 2 months, like he's done. They're gonna forget about him." I just feel like I don't know, he's bigger than that, and he's very beloved, but people do have short attention spans.
Yeah, they do. It's man, that's the most exasperating thing. So I like got into politics, you could say, like 3 years ago when the lockdowns all started, or I guess it was a little longer than that. I guess it was Tulsi Gabbard's campaign was when I first started getting involved in politics at all. Like I always paid attention and had opinions, but really in 2020 during the lockdowns and everything, That's when I started a show. That's when I started getting an online presence. And I thought, oh, all this stuff is going to make it so easy for people to see the light because it's so obvious that this tyranny is bad. And it's so obvious that all this printing of money and everything is going to cause inflation, and people are going to, have the scales fall from their eyes, and they're just going to realize the truth. And of course that didn't happen nearly enough. So, I mean, I think that's probably what everyone thought, like when 9/11 happened and the Patriot Act was being drafted, people were probably like, oh boy, this is it. People are going to realize what I've been saying for years is true. And I don't know. It's just people are dumb, and, they find something new to be outraged about, and they forget the thing that they were outraged about 5 minutes ago, and on the cycle goes.
Yeah, it's not like you want there to be a rock bottom for everybody, but it's almost like some people have to hit some kind of, I don't know, economy rock bottom, cultural rock bottom to activate you into speaking out or trying to make a difference somehow. And I guess for a lot of people, that was a Bud Light and our good friend Dylan Mulvaney.
That's another funny one, though, because so many people are boycotting Bud Light, but they don't realize that Anheuser-Busch owns like a third of the beers out there or something. And so they're still drinking all those brands. But I don't know. I mean, even if you're just boycotting specifically Bud Light, I think that is like sending more of a message than anything else that's happened so far. Like, at least people are doing that, I mean, I was amazed during COVID how many people just rolled over and were like, yep, okay, we're going to do this. Okay, yep, next, whatever you want. And it seems like some people are finally having enough with this. So if that's what it took, like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll sometimes hear folks say like, well, if I always focus on who didn't push back enough, but then you'll hear arguments for like, well, if we pushed back less than we did, then this, and this would be going on. Then, but who knows? Who knows what they're going to try for the next pandemic. And I don't know. I think I saw Elijah Schaffer tweet something like, because he's in Australia right now, and I guess he's noticing, just like how I love looking at the Daily Mail because they're British and they'll cover America in like a different way and a little bit more like brutally honest. And it is a little bit of like salacious gossip too, which is fun. But it is interesting to see like how other countries like cover the news that's going on in America. And I think he was saying like, yeah, like we're planning something else in another lab. There's more taxpayer funds going to these fucking labs in Ukraine to cook up who knows what's next. I'm just like, all right, well, that's making my heart beat fast. So I'm gonna stop reading that.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Did you ever get the summer reading list and have to read 1984 and Brave New World, or have you read?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have both of those books on my
perfect.
My dusty bookshelf here.
In my opinion, the Brave New World approach is much more effective because people will go along with it voluntarily. So you have,
especially when they feel like their roles are specially chosen for them and that it makes their life easier.
That's it right there. If it makes your life easier, that's like the number one thing. So, Joe Biden says vaccine passport for everybody. And everyone's like, hell no, dude, back off. You're, cramping on my rights or whatever. But then 10 years later, the government doesn't come out with something, but a private company produces a microchip that you put into your wrist, and it has all your medical information right there. So when you go to the doctor's office, you just scan your wrist. If you collapse on the side of the road, the EMT who shows up doesn't have to look for a medication bracelet or anything to figure out what you're allergic to, or, if you have diabetes or whatever. It's all right there, man. And not only that, but you can also use it as a wallet. You can also use it to start your car, to unlock your house. And everybody's just going to line up for it. They're going to be like, that sounds great. I'll never lose my keys again. I'll never misplace my wallet. I don't have to carry these medical cards around with me anymore. I'm good to go. And then no one will make a second, they won't have a second thought about it. They'll just go along with it. So I'm actually a fan of when the government is more 1984 style, more like jackboot on your neck, because then you have people see it obvious, and they'll actually like push back. So we had a little bit of that. It didn't come soon enough, but by 2021, when Biden was really cracking down on stuff, he actually had states pushing back. Like you got a Governor DeSantis, you got Christie, no. And we got people who are like, no, screw you, dude. We're not doing all this. And when you have that slow boil of voluntary abdication of your rights for more, more pleasure or more ease or, just more, just less hassle or whatever, then that's when it's really dangerous because people will never even realize it's happening. They'll just give up their rights for things to be more convenient, basically.
But if you think about the groups of people who were jab hesitant, I feel like those would be the same groups that would be chip hesitant, which also overlaps with a group of people that the powers that be seem to think can't remember their wallet or don't have an ID or don't know how to get literally a photo ID. They just aren't able to. They wouldn't know where to go, what to do.
The thing is, like, even in Brave New World, there's the savage people who just like live outside the system or whatever. And I am starting to see that type of thing so like I buy vehicles that are like 30 years old. I only like driving standards. I don't like all the plastic and all the sensors that are in the new cars.
I'm the same way. If I have a rental car that's too modern, I'm like, I can't. I have to get out. I'd be like, I need buttons. Sorry, I don't like this screens everywhere.
Yeah.
I need something to push. I need it to feel like a car. I don't want to feel like I'm in an iPad. Wow, that was like the most boomer thing I've ever said. But
no, it's all right. This is my total boomer side coming out. I actually, like a month ago, I remembered 10 years ago when I first started getting into truck driving, and when I would go around to different job sites, I didn't even have a GPS. I just had an atlas of New Hampshire. And so I'd find the street and the address, and I'd just open, and it'd be on D11 or whatever, and you'd find where your address was, and then you just figure out how to get there. And now every time I have an address, I just type it into my smartphone and it takes me there. And I was like, man, I miss that. I really miss just opening the book and figuring out how to get there. And then since your brain is thinking all the time, you're remembering all these streets better because you have to be looking for them. So if you ever had to drive back there again, you'd be able to do it without directions. But you're getting dumber and dumber and dumber because your phone is just doing all of it for you. And I thought, like, man, I kind of want to get rid of my smartphone. I should get a flip phone again. But then it's like, okay, then you can't get emails anymore.
Mhm.
Then you can't send pictures of your job site to your boss. Then you
Or your
can't, I mean,
junk.
yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. You see the problem. So
Like, how about that promotion, Bill?
but I mean, if you decide to live that way, then you cut yourself out of the circuit. Like, you're no longer connected to anybody anymore. So it's not just like, oh, I don't have to do all these things anymore. Like, you literally just become disconnected and you don't even know what's going on anymore. So that's kind of the place we're arriving at, where you have to decide if you just want to go with the flow or if you kind of want to be countercultural, but then you're going to pay a price for it. It's not just going to be fun. Like, you're going to lose out on stuff.
Right. Like I think definitely stand up on the things that are really important to you, and like doing the little things, like going through all your apps and making sure none of them are like tracking you all the time. Yeah, some people, they have a flip phone when they're out of their house, and then they just use their smartphone while they're home because they don't like to be tracked. It's like, you got to find the few things that really matter to you that you want to kind of like not participate in. And that has to be good enough, because you really can just make yourself crazy, stockpiling buckets of dehydrated food and collecting rainwater.
See, I've combined those two things, and I have dehydrated water. All you have to do is add water, and I've got tons of it. I've just got it stored up, ready to go.
I love that. Just dust pills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely sound like my dad. The whole like, oh, you got to know how to get around with a map. You got to talk to the road, open the atlas.
See, that's the annoying thing, is knowing how to do these things used to put you ahead of the curve, and now you don't need to know how to do it. Like, I remember when I was in high school, our teacher said, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket all the time. And now you do. So, like, if you can do mental math, good for you, but it doesn't really matter. Everyone has a calculator anyway. So.
Why did we all spend $85 on a TI? What was it? 85 TI 83 Texas Instrument calculator. And yeah, I remember them saying in high school, "Oh, you gotta learn Spanish. It's gonna come in handy all the time." Like, no, really, just when I went to bodegas in Manhattan occasionally, and then I would try to say something in Spanish. They'd be like, "Okay, Blanquita, nice try. Get out of here." No, you can't pet the cat. Leave.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Even like with photography now, you don't have to be a good photographer to take good pictures anymore. Like the camera, depending on what type of phone you have, it'll tell you to like line it up, get
Yeah,
the rule of
you don't
thirds
even have to be
right, and
good
it'll
looking.
like
Just
no.
get Facetune.
I know, no
Oh my
kidding.
God. I feel like any woman who's on the internet not using Facetune, like, we need to get a Nobel Prize, okay? Like, just a Nobel Peace Prize in the field of honesty, because it is so freaking easy to get a couple of these apps and snatch yourself up. So anyway, I just wanted a little bit of praise for that. But even celebrities, this is my segue. I want to get to this. It's just because this is not something in your wheelhouse, but I think it's pretty funny. I wanted to talk about, I was like, why is Ben Affleck trending right now on Twitter? Like, what could be going on with him? And there's a hilarious clip of him with J-Lo, because I guess he was on again, off again with J-Lo.
So this is how, okay, yeah, you just answered my question. I was gonna say this is how out of the loop I am, but they were married or just like
they
I don't
were
even...
engaged, and then they broke it off, and then I don't know who she got with, but then they came back and I think they were married. Damn. I mean, J-Lo's been married so many freaking times. They were at least engaged, if not married. You know, I think they might have been married because he had to then buy her a different engagement ring. It's fucking crazy. However, you know what? Celebrities, look, they're just like us. They're miserable.
He always looks miserable in every photo that he doesn't know he's getting.
He's hanging on by a
video.
thread. Look at the way he shuts this door. What is he drinking? An oat milk? Okay, I love the way he looks at the camera.
Oh, so do you think that was a stunt? Do you think he knew he was being filmed, so he'd close it like that, or?
Well, oh shoot, you can't see it in this version. There's a version of this video where he looks at the cameraman and he kind of throws up his hands like, really?
Yeah.
You're filming me in this time? Oh, let's see, it might be this one. I don't know why I'm obsessed with this. But I've heard like J-Lo is, I mean, when you're the most successful woman on the planet, what can any guy like do for you?
Isn't Kamala Harris the most successful woman on the planet?
Look at that. The hand. I can't believe Kamala is still Kamaling. Oh my God, there's this girl. I forget her name, but she does an amazing Kamala Harris impression. It's like really uncanny. Okay, so Anne is in the
Olivia
chat.
Rondo.
Yeah. Oh, her too, actually. Okay, so Anna has the lowdown. Ben Affleck and J-Lo were engaged in the 90s. They broke up. They married separate people, got divorced, then they got back together almost 30 years later and got married. Wow, look at that, guys. Never give up.
They looked married in that video.
They did.
For sure.
And it's like, she is pretty hot still.
Mm-hmm.
She's 50. Did you hear about Leonardo DiCaprio has a dating website, a new app? Have you heard of it?
I have not.
It's called 23andMe. Hey. Okay, from Take the Ride. Hypothetically, if you could train AI to identify psychopaths and sociopaths through social app data, then create a list of them to give caution to the public, good idea or nah? No, I think it would be manipulated like everything else. It would be manipulated to
identify,
screw over the people with the wrong political opinions. I mean, how many mass shooters do we not hear about because they don't fit the profile of somebody that the media wants to drag through the mud?
It's true, but if this AI actually worked, it would have saved the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire a little trouble. So
What do
That's a
you
perfect
mean?
segue. So
It is a good segue. Let's talk about that. So there were two, was it last fall? There were two Libertarian candidates for governor.
Mhm.
How did
yeah.
that happen?
So first, I got to talk about. Did you ever see Jeremy Kaufman's videos? Like "War is Gay" was one of them. "War is Retarded" was another one. I mean, he just made
Was
these
he the one that was running
hilarious.
for U.S. Senate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He made hilarious ads, and I was working on his campaign. I was helping do social media and wrote a couple of his Substacks for him, and was petitioning to get him on the ballot, and went to some protests with him and all that. And so the convention for the New Hampshire Libertarian Party was in January, and I was still living in Utah when the convention happened. Oh, yeah, here's the video.
Innocent people in the Middle East, they're having dinner. A bomb is dropped on their house, and they're all killed. What's the problem with this? It's being done by white men. I am Jeremy Kaufman, the Chief Diversity Officer at Halliburton, and candidate for United States
Oh my God.
Senate.
This is very clever.
It is time to diversify the murderous military-industrial complex. We need to make the nukes gay. And that's why I'm running for office. Like my fellow Democrats and Republicans, I will support every war. I will support stealing billions of dollars from Americans to kill innocent people, but we are gonna make it so gay.
There's so many people that this is just gonna fly right over their heads, though.
Yeah, but everyone who gets it, it's perfect.
Yeah.
You
It
know?
will go down in
Oh
the
my
history
God,
books.
this dude.
We will
That actually looks like
Mr.
oopsie.
Secretary,
Oh well, switch to a different video. That's funny
That's all right,
though.
you get the idea. But I mean, this campaign was so much fun. We made like so many. We made like 6 or 7 ads like that, and they're like you're saying, they were designed for the people who understood the joke that was being made. Like if you didn't get it, you didn't get it. But those are the type of people we were trying to reach with this campaign. And it wasn't really an attempt to win as much as it was to just gain a lot of media attention about the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire and libertarian ideas, and poking fun at the establishment, and, you know, getting attention through satirical means or whatever. That was really what the objective of Jeremy's campaign was. So for governor, so just a little context, the convention happened in January of 2022, and I was still in Utah in January. I didn't move back to New Hampshire until June, so I wasn't there for the convention. But my understanding is for governor, they wanted a candidate who basically wasn't going to run a campaign, but was just like a paper candidate who was going to be on the ballot just so that they could get votes, is my understanding. Like, so that was
Does that
Carlin
work?
Borsenko. What's that?
Does that work?
It didn't. So what happened was Carlin Borsenko was running for governor, and then this guy named Nick Sarwark, who's kind of from the old guard of the Libertarian Party, who really hates us and hates a lot of my friends.
Why?
Got it goes back a long way, but he thinks the Libertarian Party should be very professional, and that it should, reach really moderate, more left-leaning liberal voters, and like we should just be really, milk toast, and if we just say the right things, then people will hear us and they'll vote for us. Which, I don't believe that. I don't. Most people, I don't think, really believe that the Libertarian Party is just someday going to take off. Like, if you want to gain
It's like the
traction and you want to like bring attention to the issues, you've got to be a little Trumpian. You got to be a little bombastic, and you got to like really start throwing hand grenades and try to gain attention. So he really doesn't like us. So he ran. He got another person to run, and her name was Kelly Halderson. So there ended up being 2 people on the governor ticket, and yeah, Kelly Halderson ended up getting more votes than Karlin Borsenko did, which was kind of funny. So I should say I don't have any personal problem with Karlin. I mean, I know she's been taking shots at me on Twitter lately, but I never even like looked into any of the scandals surrounding her or whatever, because I didn't care. My disapproval with her was that she just wasn't a libertarian and wasn't a good look for the brand that we were trying to push. Like,
No, I would say grow the hair out, lose weight, get a little bit of a Fox News look going.
Yeah, it was just she was always like getting into fights with people all the time, and you know, she was never really talking about hardcore libertarian issues or so.
Oh yeah,
I don't
all
know.
her content is just like
confusing.
videos, like taking like personal attacks on just like it's like high school. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
what are you trying to change here?
So I don't know. It was I think it was a mistake, but I think we've learned our lesson with that one. And I don't think we have to worry about her coming back. I think she's distancing herself from us now, which I think is a good thing, because I don't mind being distant from her. So there you go.
Yeah, you need people who are serious and who are gonna move the party forward and take themselves seriously.
I mean, the thing is, like, that guy Jeremy Kaufman in that video, he's a serious person pretending to be a joke, basically. Like, he gets the seriousness of that issue he's talking about, but he's presenting it in a funny way to gain traction, where Karlin was more like a joke who was treating herself like a serious person. It's like the worst combination. I was just like, this isn't working. This isn't what we need. So I don't think you have to be professional or have to be, you know, like you don't even have to be a genius or anything like that. I'm not looking for that. I just people who were who really cared about the issues and were trying to draw attention to them in the way that we were. And I don't know. I never felt like she was really on board with it.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between like, oh, gatekeeping versus like taking care of who's going to represent you.
Yeah, because I mean that matters for a long time, because people are going to remember. I mean, that was what was hard about it was, you know, I'd be posting stuff from the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire saying that the Republicans don't deserve the trust of small government people anymore, because they would elect a president who would spend, you know, trillions and trillions of dollars. And then a lot of people in the comments would throw it back on our face. Well, look at who you're running for governor. And it was like, I was banned off of Twitter. I just got banned. I just got reinstated a few months ago.
Oh no, what were you banned for?
Oh, it was, I made a joke to somebody that was misunderstood as a threat of violence by the Twitter gods. So I was gone for what, a year and a half, I think, about a year and a half. So this entire election season, I couldn't even say anything from my personal account because I didn't have, you know, I didn't have a personal account. So and the other thing is I had like just come back from Utah to New Hampshire, and I didn't want to come in and act like I was running the show and, you know, try to uproot everything they had going. So I just kind of went with the flow. And then the other thing, this is really speaking to the character of the New Hampshire people. They were never going to condemn someone based on public pressure, which I actually have a lot of respect for that. Like, I think if I ever condemn someone, it's going to be because I feel like they suck and I disagree with them on principle. I've got a lot of friends that people have publicly pressured me to disown, and I won't. And actually, when they're doing that, when they're publicly pressuring me to disown them, that gives me more pushback to say, no, fuck you. Like, these are my friends.
That's happened to me before too. Like, and there's so much of this guilty by association. Like, Bernie Venti did this. What do you think that's going to mean for you? And it's like, it depends. Oh, so-and-so made a video about this. What's your thought? I'm like, everyone can do what the fuck they want. Like, unless someone is directly messing with a work relationship of mine, or directly trying to like cancel me from a gig or something, or they're just like straight up being like, I don't know, disloyal or a bad friend, but that can all be handled in private. So
yeah. So I mean, that was why, because a lot of people have been asking me, why didn't you guys kick her to the curb? Why didn't you guys do this? And it's like, well, first of all, I wasn't here when they decided, to nominate her or whatever. So I didn't have anything to do with that. But on top of that, like, we're not just going to do it because people are upset about it. Like, it's something that we got to do based on principle. And because of how things have drawn out, like, she's doing this all on her own. She is, disowning us and separating herself from us. And it's exactly the way it had to happen. And I, even after the election, like, I didn't try to kick her out or try to push her out or anything. But
You didn't
as
try
soon
to
as
like
she
push her back into the ocean or anything?
But once she started distancing herself, I was like, okay. And so then I made a post the other day, like, LPNH is not falling apart. The trash is just taking itself out. And that was directed toward her and a few other people. So I think that is the best way for people to leave an organization, when they just, like, they have a light bulb moment, like, okay, these people aren't buying my shit anymore. I guess I'm gone. And that's what happened with her.
Yeah, we
So.
saw that with Eliza Blue. Things came to a head and she had to think of a new identity or a new cause, and she kind of slowly do that, like Homer Simpson back into the bushes move of like, all right, gotta find a new thing, gotta find a new group. Other than your hilarious meme and advertising strategy, what are some other, I guess, hallmarks of the LP of New Hampshire's, I guess, online strategy?
So we're different from the rest of the country. What we want is to turn New Hampshire into a libertarian homeland. So the rest of the country still believes in this lost cause of somehow converting the largest government in human history, ruling over 330 million people, to somehow become a constitutional republic again, respecting the Constitution. And I just think that's ridiculous. It's never going to happen. And I think, during COVID, like I said earlier, we saw pushback from certain states like Florida and South Dakota. I think that that's the only real chance there is for liberty to thrive, for states to finally have enough and push back. So you have some, like, really red states like Florida trying to do that. And then you have really blue states who are becoming insane, like California, that just want to, like, drown themselves in dumb regulations and wokeness or whatever. Say, let them do it. Fine. Like, if that's what
Yeah, let them
California
grow
wants,
all the
fine.
fake cocks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I want New Hampshire to do that with libertarianism. Like, I want New Hampshire to become a libertarian state. And New Hampshire has the culture already for that, because a lot of people miss this. They think, like, Portland, Oregon could just become libertarian if the government just dissolved
Mm.
tomorrow. But I think if the government just went away tomorrow in Portland, you'd still have mass hysteria. You'd still have rampant drug abuse and, all this stuff. Like, in New Hampshire, there already exists a culture of trust, of barter and trade, of property, respect for property rights. Like, these are all things that exist here because it's a sparsely populated, old school state. And so a lot of people have farm stands where they just leave their produce out for you to come grab and drop cash in a bucket or whatever. And
Oh,
they don't
wow.
have to stand out there with a machine gun to guard it. Like, imagine trying to do that in Portland or San Francisco or, any of these places. Of course it wouldn't work. And the Free State Project is a thing that's been going on for many years now, where we've been trying to get people to move here and get politically involved to continue to push New Hampshire in that direction. But with all the tyranny that was all over the country over the last few years, we actually had a lot of people who had been kind of on the fence about move over here, and things are changing slowly but surely. So that's what our goal is. So we aren't really worried about being painted in a negative light by the media. We're not really worried about catching on to the masses and creating this wildfire that, will burn out of control. Like, I think some other Libertarian Party affiliates might kind of have that delusion that they're going to make that happen. But with us, it's really about sending a strong message that New Hampshire is the place we want you to be if you care about liberty. And we don't really give a shit what anybody else thinks. And the Free State Project's been a thing for a long time, but the Libertarian Party, the official party, and the Free State Project never really worked together before. but now they are. And so now we have this strong messaging tool. And, I don't know. I think it's great.
Do you guys ever think of like, oh, let's pick another state, like maybe on the other side of the country, so we can have two kind of like anchor points? Or you're like, no, let's just focus on New Hampshire?
I think the second state was Wyoming, because it's the least populated state in the country. And they actually did have an elected Libertarian in the state house, which doesn't happen that often. But I think we're just focused on New Hampshire right now, just because there's not a lot of us. Like, the most we ever have gotten in a presidential election is 3%. So those are optimistic numbers to even look at that realistically and say that that's what represents us. So,
and who was that? Who got the 3%?
Gary Johnson.
Oh gosh, wow, that like just happened. Damn.
Yeah, it was 2016. So, but Gary Johnson is an example of. Let me ask you: when you think of Gary Johnson, what do you think? What comes to mind?
Oh God. Is he the one that made that mistake about
Yes, he is. Yep.
Okay. Not
Aleppo.
knowing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm sure he had a lot of other great qualities.
So
I can't judge. I voted for Jill Stein. I was a retard in 2016. I don't know what I was doing.
She's great. But okay, that's the first thing you thought of, though. Obviously, that's what everyone thinks of. So now, if someone brings up Libertarian Party in New Hampshire, what's the first thing you're going to think of?
Land whales.
Oh, see, that's bad. That means we failed. I was hoping you're going to say the John McCain meme.
The John McCain meme, of course, with with Megan over the cask. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's I would rather have that firebrand reputation, that we are like so opposed to these people and we hate these people and we think they're the worst thing that's ever existed or whatever, than the guy who couldn't remember what Aleppo, Syria was. So I think we're kind of succeeding, but if the land whales might have impeded our success a little bit, so we got a little bit of work to do.
It does seem like a good place, like for the sort of politically homeless, freedom-minded folks, which I feel like there are so many all over the country. They just don't know that they fit into this category. They just sort of throw their hands up, okay, I guess I won't vote, or I guess it's fucking hopeless. Yeah.
Yep.
What do you think of this comment? Libertarianism gives way to progressivism.
Well, I think a lot of people have that perception because of the way libertarianism has been billed. It's been like this: we believe in fiscal conservatism and social acceptance, basically. So a lot of libertarianism has been billed as social progressivism with a more conservative approach to how much money we spend. But the truth is that that's not libertarian. Like, libertarian doesn't mean you have to accept anything. You do not have to think that transgender men are women or whatever. Like, that's not, or that transgender women are actually women. You don't have to think that to be a libertarian. You don't have to accept anybody else's point of view. We believe in property rights and freedom of association. So if you don't like those people, you shouldn't have to be associated with them. You shouldn't have to pay taxes that fund whatever they want to do. You should be allowed to seclude yourself and put yourself with the type of people you want to put yourself with. And libertarianism hasn't really been presented in that light. It's been much more, when Gary Johnson ran for president in 2016 on the debate stage, he said that the baker who wouldn't bake the cake for the gay couple, that he should have had to bake the cake. There's nothing libertarian about that. Libertarians don't think we should have, that we think we should overturn the Civil Rights Act, and that, there's no forced association that the government can make you do. That if people do not appreciate that a store owner isn't making cakes for gay people, then they boycott that store and don't go there. That's the market solution for something like that. You don't have the federal government come in and force them to bake a cake.
I'm in New York. I'm worried that I'm not going to get anybody to agree to bake me a straight cake for my wedding. I'm worried I'm going to get turned down.
Exactly. See, better get the government over there. They'll fix that for you. But yeah, I just think that because of how it's been presented, that's why people have that misconception.
Okay. Gosh, it's such a complicated problem. And then there's also a bit of a debate among libertarians going on right now about immigration. I've heard some folks say that, well, most libertarians are usually very pro-immigration, but now it seems very wild and out of control and hard to support it at this point with just the millions that have been flowing in and just making 10 cities kind of all over the place. It seems really crazy and out of control. And it's like, oh, is this happening because just the Democrats are looking for voters? And then some people think, oh, they're all fighting aged men. There are the new soldiers since we've turned all of ours trans and gay. And it's like, oh God.
Yeah, it's a disaster all around. And I think a lot of it, I was talking with people in my Telegram chat about it this morning. I worked at a roofing company about 8 years ago, and there's this narrative that the Mexicans are coming and stealing our jobs or whatever. But this roofing company, the guys who ran it would rather hire white guys who speak English than Mexicans who don't. And they'd probably pay them more too if they could. But the only people who would show up and work were the Mexicans. So I was on a crew of like all Mexicans and, a white guy would show up and he'd last 2 days and then he'd be like, screw this work is too hard. I gotta do something else.
Yeah, they would sunburn more easily.
Exactly. I think we've got a multifaceted problem where we have a really lazy population in the United States. We've had really easy times for several decades. We've been a consumer society instead of a producer society. And so we're getting to the point where we're so soft that our economy is falling apart. Businesses are going to ship overseas if they can to save money. And then, the immigration influx is a byproduct of that because look at all the signs that are out there looking for help right now. And
Yeah, they're
they
everywhere.
can't get it. Like the McDonald's is paying $20 an hour for drive-through. I mean, that's crazy. My first job, when I got out of high school, I was getting paid $12 an hour.
Yeah.
To run a
I remember I was
forklift
getting
in a lumber yard.
12 too to like lifeguard, actually pull people out of a pool that were going to drown and die. $12 an hour.
So I think there's a broad problem here with destroying our currency, destroying our culture, destroying our work ethic. And I think the influx of immigrants is just kind of a byproduct of it. And I don't know, you've probably seen that graph that image that's like, hard times create strong men, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. We're in the weak men creating hard times section of that image at this point.
What about what kind of times create hard men? That's where I want to live.
Yeah, that would I was actually talking to my friend in Utah.
Soft men. Soft times. Yeah, here it is. I found it.
I was talking to my friend in Utah, and they don't like the hard men over there. They've effectively banned Pornhub from Utah.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if you heard anything about this, but they wanted age verification on all pornography that was on mobile devices, or it might have even been on computers too. And the parents, if they caught their kids watching porn, they were going to be able to sue Pornhub. So Pornhub just said, all right, that's it. No more Pornhub in Utah. So now it's gone from Utah. So you don't create hard men in Utah. I know that much.
Dang, a lot of soft men, but probably just very focused on their families and jobs and
yeah.
And that's where and that's where you go live. If you want to live a porn-free existence, go to Utah. If you want to live in a freedom-minded state, go to New Hampshire.
There you go.
Well, let me see. I saw it come in here. Oh, okay. Simon thinks immigrants were brought in on purpose by the oligarchs to undermine the middle class. I I think it's just to create voters.
Yeah, I wonder often how natural the people showing up at the border is, you know, like how much assistance they get to get here. I wonder that all the time. Like
they never look dirty. They're all wearing newer clothes than what I'm wearing. I'm just like, damn.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah. And I wonder, there's just like, you know, if the military's gay and everything that's great about this country is gone, it's easier to lose enthusiasm. It's easier to lose your patriotism. And then you're kind of like, well, what's there even to fight for anymore? What does it even mean to be a patriot? What does it even mean to be American anymore? And it's being taught in schools. Like the American flag is now a partisan symbol. It's just gotten crazy.
Yeah, I mean, at least the Mexicans I worked with, they were a lot more manly than your average American man now. I mean, I think that's kind of what you're alluding to, is that, you know, they would have to be the soldiers now because they have to be the workers now. It's just all kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Our men are all busy making latte art, so can't be bothered. Yeah, they've raised the BMI requirements in the military, so the soft times are here. But I think we can turn it around, right?
That's right. Move to New Hampshire, and in New Hampshire we can turn it around. It's the only hope.
Ooh, you need to follow Reed on Twitter at Reed Coverdale and at LPNH. Check out the Naturalist Capitalist podcast. Are you going to be at Pork Fest? I think that's coming up next month.
I am going to be at Pork Fest. By the way, Chrissie, we would love for you to come to Pork Fest sometime. That'd be great.
Ooh, do you guys do comedy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, maybe I could pork it up. Maybe I could go get porked this summer.
There's plenty of opportunity for that. Like I said, lots of single men. So, ladies,
I'm betrothed. But yes, I will definitely tell my. That's maybe I could. We could work something out with comedy.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to write some more libertarian jokes. Reed, leave us with a final positive thought.
Final positive thought. Man. Well, let's just say, man, you really stumped me with that one. That's
all right. Okay. Or you could leave us with something that a forecast or something that you think is going to pop off in the next 6 months.
Oh God. Well, let's just say I wouldn't be trusting the dollar to hold its reserve currency status too much longer, because the thing that's changed now is now other countries are not honoring the dollar anymore. Like, there's always been recessions and there's always been inflation, but this time the world's changing. So, yeah, if you own gold, that's a positive note. We can leave this on. If you own something other than dollars, if you own rubles or yen, then things are looking good for you. Congratulations.
What about Beanie Babies with the tags still on?
Yeah, those are ridiculous money now, aren't they?
I have some old Pogs, a Slammer. I'll have to dust them out.
What do Beanie Babies go for? Like 30 grand, or is it more than that now?
I don't even think that much. I think people got very excited about them, bought them up. They'd even buy like the plastic tag protectors for the tag. And I don't think they've gone up much at all. But there's people I went to high school with who still have rooms full of them. They're just holding out.
You never know, though. Beanie Babies might be worth more than the dollar soon. So
yeah, maybe we can barter them when everything goes to shit. China is buying up Beanie Babies as reserve currency. Oh my God. They're going to beat us to it. Oh my goodness.
It's going to be the Beanie Baby Road Initiative instead of the Belton Road Initiative.
The Beanie Road. Oh, the great Beanie Bear Wall. All right. My brain is melted. Yes, Reed, where else can people follow you? What else is coming up?
Yeah, I haven't done too many episodes lately. I did one last month. I've been working a lot, so I've just been kind of laying off lately, but I'll do another one when I feel like it, and I'll be at I'll be at Pork Fest, so that's I think it's June 19th through 26th, I believe. It's the second to last week of June, whatever dates those are. So if you want to come to Lancaster, New Hampshire, come hang out with us. It would be fun.
Ooh, sounds good. Bring your gold and
Yeah, girls.
bring your single
if you wanna
ladies.
pick up a guy, come with gold. No, you don't really need it, but you know that then it's just a slam dunk. There's no way,
just
no way you can't find somebody.
wear a gold bra or something and just hang out. Yes, Reed, you're an absolute blast. The easiest to talk to, extremely smart, extremely sharp. You laughed at my jokes. I have no complaints here. Thank you to everybody in the chat for your comments and questions, and we will see you next time.